As I was leaving for work that morning, my wife of 20 years, Lauren, stopped me in the hallway. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. "Nick," she said, fidgeting with her hands, "we need to talk tonight, after you get home." I raised an eyebrow. "Do we need to talk now? I can be a few minutes late if it's important." She shook her head quickly. "No, tonight. We need time to go over everything." Her words lingered in my mind all day. What was so big that it couldn't wait? Had I done something wrong? I replayed the past few weeks in my head but came up empty. If anything, I'd been especially attentive, helping out around the house, spending more time with her, trying to make her happy. Was she sick? Hiding something serious? Let me take you back a little. My name is Nick Everett. My wife, Lauren Grant Everett, and I met 22 years ago in Fort Worth, Texas. It was a blind date, set up by one of my baseball teammates. Back then, I was a biology major and a pitcher on the team, and Lauren was studying education and majoring in math. We hit it off instantly. Lauren was everything I'd ever wanted. Smart, funny, and gorgeous. By the end of the night, I knew she was the one. A few years later, during our senior year, I proposed. Lauren came from a well-off Fort Worth family, so her parents threw her the wedding of her dreams. Over 400 guests showed up to our big day. It was a little over the top for my taste, but seeing her shine in that moment made it all worth it. Our honeymoon in Cancun was everything we hoped it would be: beaches, margaritas, and a lot of time alone together. When we came back, we both started teaching. Lauren landed a math position, while I coached baseball and taught science. We had a son, DJ, David Jones, in our first year of marriage. He was our everything. So much so that we decided one child was enough. Raising him was a full-time job in itself. DJ grew up playing baseball under my coaching, and now he's on a scholarship at UT Austin. As I drove to work that morning, I thought about all of this. 20 years together, and sure, we'd had our ups and downs. But what couple hasn't? Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was good. At least, I thought it was. So why did Lauren seem so off this morning? Could she be hiding something? Could it be an affair? No. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the thought. I would have noticed, wouldn't I? She had no reason to stray, did she? Our sex life, though not as frequent as it used to be, was still satisfying. Unless, had she been faking it? The thought made my stomach churn. I pulled into the driveway at 5:30 sharp, still unsure if I was ready to hear what Lauren had to say. As soon as I stepped inside, the smell of dinner hit me. Chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy. My favorite. If I wasn't already on edge, that confirmed it. Something was wrong. "Hey," I said, kissing her on the cheek before heading to change out of my work clothes. When I returned, dinner was ready. We ate in relative silence, talking about the usual: work, our schools, DJ. But my mind was elsewhere, waiting for her to bring up the conversation she'd promised. After dinner, she took my hand and led me to the couch. "Nick," she started, her voice soft but steady. "First, I need you to know that I love you more than anything in this world. You're an amazing husband and father. Our marriage is good, and I wouldn't trade the life we've built for anything." She paused, squeezing my hand as her eyes welled up. "So please don't take what I'm about to say the wrong way." "Lauren," I said cautiously, "what's going on?" She looked down, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I need some space. Time to myself. I'm going to move out for a little while." Her words hit me like a brick. "What?" I asked, trying to process. "It's not you, Nick. It's me," she said quickly. "The old it's not you. It's me routine." "Are you unhappy?" I asked, my voice tinged with hurt. No, she said, shaking her head. I feel like I'm suffocating. I need to recharge, to figure things out. This will be good for both of us." Her words felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in her head 100 times. "So, what is this, Lauren?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "Are you asking for a separation? A divorce?" She gasped, her eyes wide. "No, Nick. God, no. I don't want a divorce. I need time." I stared at her, searching for answers in her face. She looked down, avoiding my gaze. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something didn't add up. "It's not a separation. It's just a little time away from each other," Lauren said, her voice calm but firm. "Are you having an affair, Lauren?" I asked, watching her closely. Her face changed slightly, her expression uncertain. Absolutely not, Nick. I have always been faithful to you. I folded my arms. Well, maybe not yet, but something tells me that is exactly why you are doing this. In fact, I bet you already have someone in mind, and it won't be long before you take that step. That is not true, Nick, she said quickly. I told you, I am just asking for a little time away. Where will you be staying, Lauren? I asked, my voice controlled, but laced with frustration. She hesitated for a moment. My friend Clara has an extra bedroom in her house. She said I could stay with her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you serious? Clara is the biggest 304 in town. Do you have any idea what people say about her? Some of the single guys at work call her birthday cake because, well, everybody gets a piece. She's the one who put this idea in your head, didn't she? Filling it with nonsense about how freeing it would be to sleep with another man. Lauren's face turned red with frustration. It's not like that, Nick. Clara is my friend, and she has always been there for me. We don't have any kind of plans like that. I am your wife, and I still love you. That does not change. I shook my head. You are obviously going to do this no matter what I say. In fact, I bet your bags are already packed, aren't they? She nodded slowly. Yes. Clara is expecting me tonight. I exhaled, trying to steady myself. I didn't see this coming, Lauren. If I had known things weren't right between us, I would have done more. Things are good, Nick, she insisted. Please try to understand that this is just a temporary break for both of us. I clenched my jaw, staring at her. You've already made up your mind, so just go. But hear me loud and clear. If I find out you've cheated on me with another man, our marriage is over. I will divorce you without hesitation. If I find out you even kissed another man, that's it. Game over. She gave me a small, reassuring smile. Don't worry, honey, that will never happen. This won't be for long. I just want some time to myself. I love you so much, and this will make me love you even more. With that, she picked up her already packed bags, kissed me on the cheek, and walked out the door. I sat there in silence, my heart pounding. I suddenly had the overwhelming feeling that she would never walk back through that door as my wife again. I hoped she was telling the truth, but deep down, I had a feeling I already knew the real reason behind this, and I was sure Clara had everything to do with it. That night, I barely slept. When I did, I had the worst dream. Lauren was with another man, completely lost in the moment, and I was standing there, forced to watch. The next morning, I called in sick. I needed answers. That afternoon, I met with Diana Marsh, a well-known divorce attorney. She listened carefully as I explained everything. This isn't the first time I've seen this, she said, leaning forward. A wife suddenly wants space, but claims she isn't cheating? In most cases, she's just looking for an excuse. If she's going to be unfaithful, it'll happen soon. We need to be ready. She suggested hiring a private investigator to watch Lauren's movements. You need proof, Nick. If something happens, we'll have it documented, Diana said. I nodded. My father, who had built a South Texas energy company worth millions, immediately offered to cover the cost of the PI. Normally, I would have refused his help. I had always wanted to succeed on my own. But this was different. This isn't about money, my father told me. This is about protecting yourself. Don't sit back and let this happen without knowing the truth. Diana also advised drafting separation papers. Since Lauren had already moved out, we needed to make it official. The agreement stated that she had to continue paying half the mortgage and, more importantly, included a fidelity clause. If either of us was caught cheating, the separation would immediately turn into a divorce. It wasn't what I wanted, but I agreed. 2 days later, Lauren was served at school. Later that day, while I was still at work, my phone buzzed. Nick, what the hell are these separation papers? Her voice was sharp, filled with anger. Exactly what they look like, I answered. At my lawyer's advice, and since you chose to move out, I decided to make it official. Nick, this isn't what I wanted, she shouted. I stayed calm. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before walking out. I paused before adding, and don't think this gives you permission to be with other men. She hesitated. Nick, I would never. But at this point, I wasn't sure I believed her anymore. That night, I called Dave, a fellow coach at Lauren's school. I need you to keep an eye on her, I said. See if she's getting close to any of the male teachers. And keep an eye on Clara, too. Dave agreed. The next morning, Diana called. The private investigator is ready to begin surveillance, she told me. I sighed, gripping my phone tightly. This was it. I still wanted to believe Lauren, but something told me I was about to learn the truth, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. If you actually read the damn papers, Lauren, you'd know that any proof you've been fucking around means the separation turns into divorce papers. Nick, I told you I just needed a little time away, she pleaded. We don't need separation papers. I still love you and need you. I just wanted some space for a little while. I clenched my jaw. This is all just a little game to you, isn't it? Move out, fuck around a bit, then come running back home to your husband like nothing happened. I'll tell you what, move back home tonight, and I'll forget this ever happened. I'll even tear up the separation papers. She was quiet for a moment, then sighed. Just give me a little time away, Nick. That's all I ask. Surely you love me enough to give me that. I took a deep breath, my patience wearing thin. No, Lauren. Either come back home, or sign the damn papers and mail them in. No negotiation. Silence. Goodbye, Lauren, I said, hanging up before she could say another word. Seconds later, my phone rang again. I didn't answer. She had a choice to make, and by the time the night ended, her decision was clear. Lauren didn't come home. The next morning, I called the private investigator Diana had recommended. He was ready to start surveillance that evening. He'd keep tabs on Lauren, Clara, and anyone they got involved with. Lauren had moved out on Monday. Now it was Thursday night, and I got a call from Dave, the coach at her school who had agreed to keep an eye on her and Clara. Nick, you're gonna want to hear this, he said. He had been eavesdropping on a conversation between Lauren and Clara in Lauren's classroom earlier that day. Somehow, he had managed to record their discussion through his phone. They left the door cracked just enough, Dave explained before sending me the recording. I hit play. Clara's voice came through first, loud and full of excitement. Lauren, honey, I hope you're ready for tomorrow night. I told you about Ryan, right? That new science teacher has the hots for you. Lauren hesitated. Clara, what exactly are you talking about? Oh, come on. You know what I mean. Clara laughed. Ryan and Jack, the new assistant principal, are meeting us at the tavern. We'll have dinner, drinks, maybe a little dancing, and then it's back home for the real fun. Lauren's voice lowered. Wait, do you really think they're expecting to sleep with us? Clara snorted. Of course they do. They're men, Lauren. They want us. Ryan's been eye-fucking you for weeks. And tomorrow night? You're gonna get fucked by a guy 10 years younger than you. Lauren exhaled heavily. I don't know, Clara. I mean, I know this is kind of what you talked me into, but I love my husband. If he finds out, I'm screwed. Didn't you sign those separation papers and send them in? Clara asked casually. Lauren hesitated. Well, yeah, but not according to Nick. He says if he finds out I cheated, he'll divorce me on the spot. Clara scoffed. He's not gonna divorce you, Lauren. He loves you too much. Besides, he'll never know. You get your little playtime, and when you're ready, you run back home to Daddy. Hell, I bet this will even spice up your sex life with Nick. Lauren's voice was softer now. I'm still not sure, Clara. I do think Ryan is attractive, and yeah, he turns me on, but I don't know if I can go through with this. Clara cut her off. Lauren, at your age, this is your last chance to have some excitement before everything starts sagging. Do you really want to miss out on a young, hot guy worshipping your body? There was a long pause. Then, finally, Lauren's voice. Okay, I'll admit, his attention makes me horny as hell. Clara laughed. Exactly. We'll talk more tonight, babe. But trust me, you don't want to miss out on Ryan's big meat. The guy is hung. The recording ended. I sat there, gripping my phone so tightly I thought I might snap it in half. Lauren was on the fence, but Clara? That bitch was pushing her over the edge. I wasn't 100% sure that Lauren would actually go through with it, but the way she talked about Ryan, the way she admitted he turned her on, made me feel sick. I immediately forwarded the recording to my PI, along with Ryan's and Jack's full names. His response was simple. I'll dig into both of them. And don't worry, I'll be ready for tomorrow night. The next 24 hours were pure hell. I debated calling Lauren and confronting her, warning her that I knew exactly what she was planning. Maybe, just maybe, the shock of it would jolt her back to reality. But another part of me wanted to see what she would do. If I tipped her off and she came home, could I ever trust her again? Or would I always wonder if she was sneaking around behind my back? This was the moment of truth. If she followed through, I would have proof. There would be no excuses, no gaslighting, no way for her to lie her way out of it. She had a choice to make, and I was about to find out exactly who she was. Friday evening, Dave called me shortly after I got home. "They're doing it, Nick," he said grimly. "What do you mean?" "I saw them. Lauren, Clara, Ryan, and Jack. They were sitting together at lunch, making plans. I couldn't catch everything, but I heard the tavern mentioned, and I'm pretty damn sure I heard them confirm their meetup for tonight." I swallowed hard. Did Lauren seem hesitant? Dave sighed. "Honestly, no." She was smiling, and right before Ryan left the table, he whispered something in her ear. I closed my eyes, already knowing what was coming. "What did she do?" I asked. "She laughed," Dave said. Not an awkward laugh. A real one. A cold feeling settled over me. Lauren had crossed the line, and she didn't even seem to care. I hung up and called my PI. "She's in," I said. "Get ready." His response was immediate. "I've got them covered. If she follows through, we'll have everything." I sat back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I had spent 20 years loving a woman who, in the span of a few days, had destroyed everything. Now, all that was left was proof. And when I had it, she would never see me the same way again. The private investigator had already given me the full rundown on Ryan and Jack. Ryan was 32, married, with 2 small kids. His wife and children were visiting her mother for the weekend, so he had a free pass tonight. Jack was 38, also married, with 2 teenage kids. His wife and kids were at home, so whatever excuse he had cooked up to get out tonight was probably something along the lines of a conference, a common cover for cheating educators. That was their story. Now, here was Lauren's side of it. At Clara's suggestion, I had gone out and bought a new dress, something short, sexy, and tight-fitting, along with a matching set of lace underwear. As I got dressed, my mind was at war with itself. On one hand, I was horny as hell for Ryan. His flirty smiles, the way he made me feel desired. It had been so long since I'd felt like this. But on the other hand, I was about to cheat on my husband of 20 years. I was about to let another man take me, to do something I could never take back. What the fuck am I doing? I stared at myself in the mirror. I knew this was wrong. Nick had been nothing but good to me. He loved me, adored me. He had given me a stable life, a faithful marriage. And here I was, dressed like a whore, about to spread my legs for someone 10 years younger than me. I needed to stop. I turned and walked into Clara's room. "Clara," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't think I can do this. I have no business fucking around with some young guy. Not to mention the fact that I'm doing it behind Nick's back." Clara sighed dramatically, setting her drink down. "Listen to me, Lauren," she said, standing up and placing her hands on my shoulders. "You are a sexy, beautiful woman. You look 10 years younger than you actually are. You deserve this. You need to go out and experience this opportunity I've put in front of you." I swallowed hard, looking away. "Go out tonight," she continued. "Enjoy yourself. If you love it, you can do it again. If not, you can go back home to Nick. But don't deny yourself this experience. So many wives dream about something like this, but never get the chance. You owe it to yourself." I bit my lip. My heart was racing. "Nick won't know," Clara added with a smirk. "He'll never find out." I took a shaky breath. "So what do you say? Want to be a little 304 for a night?" I looked down at my reflection in the mirror, my pulse pounding. She was right. This was my one chance. A one-night pass to be a dirty little slut and have some good, wild sex. I exhaled and turned back to Clara. "Fuck it," I said. "I hope he's as good as you say, because right now, you've got me hornier than a hood owl." Clara grinned wickedly. "Now, that's the spirit," she said. "Let's go show these boys a thing or two." We were supposed to meet Ryan and Jack at 7 p.m. We showed up a little after that, dressed to kill. The guys had already gotten us a table and ordered a bottle of red wine. We had taken a taxi, knowing full well that the plan was to leave with them later. The tavern was perfect, classy, private, on the outskirts of the city, with low lighting and live jazz music. We ordered dinner, sipped our wine, and relaxed into the night. The guys drank scotch, and before long, we were on our second bottle of wine. After dinner, we moved to the dance floor. This was the moment it all started to go downhill. Ryan's hands were on my hips as we danced. I felt his breath on my neck. I felt his hands move lower. And when our lips finally met, I didn't stop him. I was drunk. I was aroused. and it felt fucking good. I wasn't thinking about Nick. I wasn't thinking about anything except the hot younger man pressing himself against me. By 10 p.m., we were hammered. Jack leaned in, his voice suggestive. "What do you say we take this party back to the house?" I giggled like a drunk schoolgirl. Clara gave me a knowing look. Ryan grabbed my hand, and just like that, we left. The moment we got into the car, Ryan was on me, his hands everywhere, his mouth on mine. I didn't resist. By the time we stumbled into Clara's house, I was already half naked. We didn't even make it to the bedroom. We fucked right there on the couch. It was hot. It was wild. It was everything Clara had promised it would be. And then, when it was over, reality started to creep in. Oh my God. I had just cheated on my husband. But before I could process it, Ryan grabbed me again. And we fucked again. And later, exhausted, drunk, and completely spent, we collapsed on the couch and fell asleep. I woke up with a massive hangover. For a few moments, I was dazed, unsure where I even was. Then it all came rushing back. I had cheated on Nick. I had fucked Ryan multiple times. I had become the very thing I swore I wouldn't. I sat up, pulling the blanket around me. Ryan was gone. His clothes were gone. I found Clara in the kitchen, sipping coffee like she hadn't just encouraged me to destroy my marriage. She smirked. "From the sounds coming from the living room last night, I'd say you had a pretty good time. So, how was he? As good as he said he was?" I felt sick. Tears welled in my eyes. "Clara, this was a huge mistake," I whispered. She rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. Don't get all emotional now. Tell me that wasn't the best sex you've ever had." I shook my head, my voice breaking. "That's the problem, Clara. Yes, the sex was good, but that's all it was. Just sex. No love. No connection. None of the tenderness I get from Nick." Her face fell slightly. "I never should have let you talk me into this," I continued. "I'm going home." Clara sighed dramatically. "Lauren, honey, you look like shit. I just got fucked by a younger guy written all over your face." She grinned. "I'd wait a day or two before crawling back to Nick. Hell, if I were you, I'd play around a little longer first." I stood there, shaking, realizing how deep I'd fucked up. I had betrayed my husband, and now there was no undoing it. I sat in my dark living room, staring at the bottle of Chianti I had barely touched and the cold pizza sitting on the table. This was supposed to be a night of answers, and I already knew deep down what those answers were going to be. My wife was fucking another man. I had hired the best, Elliot Nash, a former CIA operative turned private investigator. The man was an expert, equipped with high-tech surveillance that guaranteed results. And if Lauren had done what I feared, he would have proof. At 7:30 p.m., Elliot called. "They're at the tavern," he said. "Everything's going according to plan. I'll be on them all night if necessary. If she cheats, you'll have all the evidence you need." My stomach turned. "Call me. No matter what time," I told him. I hung up, fearing the worst but hoping for the best. I tried to distract myself, but every second felt like an eternity. I tried to watch TV. I tried to eat, but all I could picture was Lauren in another man's arms. I don't know when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, my phone was ringing. I checked the clock. 2 a.m. I saw the caller ID. Elliot. My heart sank. This was it. I picked up the phone, my voice hollow. "Hello." There was a heavy sigh on the other end. "Nick, this is the part of my job I hate the most." I stopped breathing. My hands started shaking. "Tell me," I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. There was a pause. Then Elliot spelled it out for me. "She cheated," he said simply. "No doubt about it. It's all on video." I closed my eyes. The reality hit me like a freight train. Lauren was gone. She had fucked another man, and now my marriage was over. She was free to be the town bicycle if she wanted. I wasn't holding on to this bullshit any longer. "Spell it out for me," I said, my voice flat. "I want to know everything." Elliot didn't hesitate. They met at the tavern like planned. Lots of drinking, lots of dancing. My stomach twisted. I got pictures and video of them kissing on the dance floor, his hands all over her ass. I felt sick. "She didn't push him away," Elliot continued. "She encouraged it. They were all over each other at the table, too. He was groping her. She was smiling, laughing. She loved it. And I will say this, she was very drunk." I gritted my teeth. She still had a choice. And she made it. "Let me guess," I muttered. It gets worse. Elliot sighed. Yeah, Nick. It gets a lot worse. I followed them back to Clara's house. They weren't even trying to be discreet. They walked right in like they'd done this a million times. I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. The living room curtains were cracked open just enough for me to get clear footage. Ryan and Lauren went straight for the couch. Clara and Jack disappeared into the bedroom. I swallowed hard. Ryan had his hands up her skirt within minutes. She didn't stop him. In fact, she helped him. I could feel the bile rising in my throat. And then? I asked, my voice hoarse. Then they fucked, Elliot said bluntly. Right there on the couch. I got everything on video. I squeezed my eyes shut, a hot tear rolling down my cheek. I had imagined it, but hearing it confirmed? That was another kind of pain entirely. Elliot sighed. Nick, after we hang up, I'm sending you everything. The photos, the videos, the audio, everything. I exhaled shakily. I see no need to continue surveillance, Elliot said. You have your proof. Your wife is a cheater. I clenched my jaw. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I'll mail you my invoice in the morning, Elliot added. Thanks, I whispered. I hesitated. Was it bad? Elliot was quiet for a second. Yeah, he admitted. It was bad. She got into it, Nick. I won't sugarcoat it. She enjoyed it. She was loud. You'll hear everything. My stomach turned. One last thing, Elliot said. Not once did she mention you. Not once did they call you a cuck. Not once did they say you were a bad husband. I nodded numbly. That doesn't help, Elliot. I know, he said softly. Take care of yourself, man. I sat in the dark, staring at my laptop screen. The videos were clear. The sound quality was perfect. I could see and hear everything. I watched it all. From the dirty dancing at the bar, to the laughing, the drinking, the flirting, to Ryan's hands all over my wife, to the moment she spread her legs for him, to the way she moaned for him. I sat there, listening to my wife's pleasure from another man, and I cried. I cried like a fucking baby. I had never felt pain like this before. She had given herself to another man, and she had fucking loved it. I didn't waste time. Saturday morning, I called Diana, my lawyer. Make it official, I said. Turn the separation into divorce proceedings. Serve her at school. Diana didn't hesitate. She'll get the papers Monday afternoon, she confirmed. Lauren was about to get a fucking wake-up call, and I wasn't stopping there. Elliot had dug up Ryan's wife's email address. By Monday night, I sent everything to her. I wanted her to know exactly what her piece of shit husband had been doing. And Jack? I sent it to his wife too. No reason for him to miss out on the fun. A new beginning. The finances were mostly divided, but Diana had a few more strings to pull. Lauren would get half. I couldn't stop that. But I wasn't staying in that house. I called a realtor and put it on the market. If Lauren wanted to buy me out, fine. If not, I'd take my share and walk away from this life forever. One way or another. I was done. I wasted no time moving forward. By Saturday afternoon, I had found a new place to rent and started packing my shit. I left everything of Lauren's behind. Her clothes, her pictures, all of it. That house wasn't mine anymore. It was just a graveyard of a dead marriage. I took Monday off work so I could get the hell out before she tried to crawl back. But before I left, there were a few more things I had to do. I called DJ first. I told him everything. At first, he didn't believe it. But when I told him about the private investigator and the video evidence, he went quiet. Fuck, Dad. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, son, I told him. I just didn't want you to hear it from someone else. He sighed heavily. She's gonna call me. You know that, right? Yeah, I know. I'll call her, but I need time to process this, he muttered. She's still my mom, but damn, I can't believe she did this. I felt for him. DJ had always been practical, logical. He wouldn't disown his mother, but he wasn't going to let her off the hook either. I just don't get it, he finally said. She had everything. Why the fuck would she throw it all away? That's the million-dollar question, son. I hung up and made my next set of calls. I told our parents. I wasn't going to let her spin some bullshit story about me being the bad guy. Her parents were stunned. They didn't want to believe it, but when I told them about the PI's proof, they knew I wasn't lying. Wait until Monday night to talk to her, I told them. Let her sit in it first. She thought she could hide this forever. By Monday evening, she would know just how deep she had fucked up. At 3:45 p.m., after her last class, there was a knock on her classroom door. "Are you Lauren Everett?" "Yes, that's right." The man handed her an envelope. "You've been served, Mrs. Everett." She didn't even have to open it. She already knew. She sat down at her desk and cried. She thought she could come home, act like nothing happened, and I would never know. She thought she could lie her way out of it. But the second she opened that envelope, she knew she had lost everything. After she cried herself out, she opened the divorce papers. Inside was a flash drive. She already knew what was on it, but she had to see it for herself. She rushed back to Clara's house, locked herself in her room, and plugged the drive into her laptop. There was no escaping the truth now. The dirty dancing at the bar, the way she let him touch her, the way she kissed him back, and worst of all, the full, clear video of her fucking Ryan on Clara's couch. I had hired a PI, and I had everything. The realization crushed her. All she could think about was how much she had hurt me. She knew she had crossed the line. She knew I would never take her back. She knew she had lost the best thing that ever happened to her. Then her phone started ringing. DJ was first. She tried to explain, tried to beg for understanding, but there was no excuse she could give. "Dad showed me the proof, Mom," DJ said coldly. "You really thought you could hide it? DJ, please. You were my fucking hero, Mom," he muttered. "And now? You're just some woman who cheated on my father." That hit her harder than anything else. He hung up, and she broke down sobbing. Then her parents called. Her father was furious. "You threw away your entire marriage for some fucking loser?" Her mother was quieter, but just as disappointed. "Why, Lauren? Why would you do this to Nick?" She had no answer. She just kept crying. Then my parents called. My mother was crying, barely able to speak. "Why didn't you love him anymore?" She didn't have an answer for that either. She packed her things. When she came out of her room, Clara was waiting with a smug grin. "Well, well," Clara said. "I see you've decided to go back home. At least you got laid properly one time before leaving." Lauren snapped. "Screw you, Clara," she spat. "Don't ever talk to me again." Clara's grin faltered. "What's your problem?" "Nick knows everything," Lauren said, her voice shaking. "He has video proof. He has pictures. He has a fucking video of me and Ryan screwing on your goddamn couch." Clara's jaw dropped. "I've been served divorce papers. My son hates me. My parents hate me. Nick's parents hate me. And this is all because I listened to a bitch like you." Clara tried to apologize, but Lauren was already out the door. She checked into a motel, sat on the bed, and stared at her phone. There was only one thing left to do. She called me. I let it ring a few times before picking up. "Hello, Lauren." "Nick, I know you hate me right now," she whispered. "But can we please talk? Face to face?" There was a long pause. "Okay," I finally said. "Where are you? You're not at Clara's, are you? Because I won't step foot in that house." "No," she said quickly. "I checked into a motel." She gave me the address. I agreed to come. When she opened the door and I saw her face, I knew instantly. She was broken, but it didn't matter, because she had broken me first. When I walked into that motel room and saw her sitting there, it hit me just how much had changed in just a few days. This was the woman I had spent the last 20 years loving, the woman I had built a life with, the woman I had trusted with everything. And now, she was just a stranger wearing my wife's face. She looked awful, like she hadn't slept in days, like she had spent every moment since being served drowning in regret. Good. I wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to sit in the wreckage she had created and realize just how much she had destroyed. She started apologizing before I even had a chance to sit down. Over and over, she tried to explain, tried to convince me that it was just a one-time stupid mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that she still loved me. I just let her talk. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. I just sat there, listening to the woman who had been my wife try to bargain with a past that couldn't be undone. And then I asked the one question that had been burning in my mind since I watched that godforsaken video. Was it me? I asked. Was I not enough? That was the part that seemed to break her the most. She shook her head violently, fresh tears spilling down her face. "No, Nick," she choked out. "You were more than enough. You were everything. I was just stupid." We sat there for 2 hours, going in circles. But deep down, I knew there was nothing left to say. I stood up, and she looked at me like she already knew what was coming. "I guess this is it, Lauren," I said. There's nothing else left to say. I gave you everything I had to give, but I guess it just wasn't enough. She opened her mouth to protest, but then I saw something flicker across her face. Regret. Resignation. She knew I was right. By the way, I added as I picked up my keys, did you know Ryan was married? Had a couple of kids? Her face twisted in shock. What? Yeah, he told you he was divorced, right? I scoffed. Well, he won't be for long. His wife has all the same evidence I do. He's done. Jack too. He was married as well. For a second, just a split second, I saw something dark in her eyes. She hated him. She hated Ryan. She had ruined her entire life for a liar. Good. I turned to leave, but before I did, I looked at her one last time. I still love you, Lauren, I admitted, and I probably always will. I'm sorry it had to end this way. She choked back a sob as I pulled her into a hug. I love you too, Nick, she whispered. And I am so sorry. But it didn't matter anymore. I walked out that door, and I didn't look back. The divorce went through fast. I didn't contest anything, and neither did she. I kept it simple, irreconcilable differences, instead of throwing adultery on the paperwork. I split everything 50-50, including the sale of the house. I could have gone after her harder, but what was the point? The real punishment was knowing she had thrown everything away for nothing. Ryan didn't get off so easily. His wife's father was a top-tier lawyer, and by the time they were done with him, he barely had 2 cents to rub together. He resigned and left town before the ink was even dry on his divorce papers. Jack managed to hold on to his marriage, but it was on shaky ground. He cut ties with Clara completely. Lauren did too. She told me later that she packed up and walked out of that house the same night I served her. She wasn't the only one who got a wake-up call. The school board called Lauren, Jack, and Clara in to discuss their conduct outside of work under the morals clause in their contracts. None of them got fired, but the humiliation alone was enough to remind them they were damn lucky to still have jobs. Lauren had it the worst. Word got around, and suddenly she wasn't just a teacher. She was the woman who cheated on her husband and got caught. The younger male teachers started asking her out, assuming she was easy. Once a 304, always a 304, they joked. She hated it. She refused every single one of them. But it didn't stop the rumors, the whispers, the stares. Eventually, she started dating again. But she never really connected with anyone. They're all jerks, she admitted to me once. Most of them are divorced guys who just want to screw around. And screw around she did. She hooked up with a few of them, trying to fill the void. But they weren't me. They never even came close. Jack's marriage was still hanging on by a thread, but he avoided Clara like the plague. As for me, I moved on. I landed a coaching job at a major university, exactly where I wanted to be. DJ took over my old job at the high school. He became everything I had hoped for him. Strong, independent, successful. Lauren and I still talked occasionally. She still had a relationship with DJ, and I never tried to stop that. He forgave her, and I was thankful for that. 3 years after the divorce, we had lunch together. Me, Lauren, DJ, and my fiancée. Angela was 5 years younger than me, smart, funny, and built like a brick shithouse. Lauren noticed the ring on her finger right away. It was hard for her. I could see it. I was happy. I had moved on, and she hadn't. When I left, I glanced back one last time. She was staring into her reflection in the restaurant window, and I could almost hear the words she whispered to herself every single morning. You stupid bitch. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you soon.